Hello, my name is Jim Royal. Today I'm going to be reviewing a classic solo Beatle album. This one's from John Lennon. It's called Imagine John Lennon, and it was originally released in 1971. It was released here in the United States in September, and then in the United Kingdom in October. I love this album. I decided to review it here in October because it is John Lennon's birthday month, and I personally think this is John Lennon's best solo album, period. Very Beatle-y. I'm a huge Beatle fan, and I think many of these songs probably could have been on future Beatle albums if the Beatles had continued. I just love it. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. I'm going to give a review at the end. So here we go. Here's the front cover. John, very dreamlike there in the clouds, thinking. You can tell he's thinking about a lot, like that. Here's the back side. And there's a quote from Yoko on here. This is from a book of poetry she wrote in the early 60s called Grapefruit. This is one of the lines, "Imagine the clouds dripping, dig a hole in your garden to put them in." Yoko, 1963. Actually, it's interesting because Yoko, according to John, deserved a writer's credit for the title cut, Imagine. She did some of the lines he did actually lift from that book. This album has a lot of nice help from other musicians. George Harrison, fellow Beatle, plays on half of the album. I was very happy to hear that. I knew he played on a couple songs, but I didn't realize 5 of the 10 songs he's on. Klaus Voormann, the Beatles' friends from the Hamburg days. Klaus plays bass, and he's also known as an artist. He actually designed and did their 1966 Beatle album Revolver, so that artwork was him. He designed it, and he also did the work for the anthology albums too. You have a couple members from Badfinger playing on here. They play guitar. That's nice. And you have Alan White, former member of Yes. He plays on it, on drums. He plays drums on most of the album, but you also have Jim Keltner and Jim Gordon also play. And you have Nicky Hopkins playing a little bit of piano on some of the songs. He's a friend of the Rolling Stones. All these guys know each other, and you know, he played a little bit on here too. There's wonderful orchestration on here. Nice orchestra. Phil Spector helped co-produce this album with John and Yoko. So the first song is called Imagine. Now this Imagine album was recorded at John Lennon's Tittenhurst Park mansion in, I think they started recording it in May 1971, and then by the time July came around, they were doing overdubs in New York City. They were mixing it. I believe it was mixed and recorded at the, overdubbed at the Record Plant East in New York. The first song, Imagine, is my favorite song of all John Lennon solo songs. I think it best, I think just kind of describes and incorporates all elements that I like about John Lennon. He's very sincere. He's talking about this one, about wouldn't it be nice if all of us could just, you know, live as one, you know, one world peace. It's a peace song, and I love it. It's talking about putting our differences aside, you know, whatever religion we are, or the barriers that we have as far as, you know, our different countries, and become as one. I love it. Yoko, like I said, did help with some of the lines. She didn't get a writer's credit though. To me, it's my favorite song. When it was released as a single here in the States, it got up to number 3. I mean, this is a #1 material song, and unfortunately, you know, after John Lennon passed, then it did become #1, probably, you know, over most of the world. He plays wonderful piano on it. It's just beautiful. The next song is called Crippled Inside. Crippled Inside is John poking fun at himself. He had done that different times. He had just had the Primal Scream Therapy, you know, the prior year, had a whole album about that. And this one, he's talking about, you know, you can shine your shoes, you know, you can have whatever you have, a nice car, nice clothes, but one thing you can't hide is when you're crippled inside. And that says so much. And You know, he's just having a little bit of fun with that. Crippled Inside has George Harrison on it. The next song is called Jealous Guy. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Crippled Inside also has nice piano by Nicky Hopkins, honky-tonk kind of like barroom type piano. Jealous Guy is the next song. This song had its roots back in India in early '68 when the Beatles made a trip to the Maharishi in India to meditate. It was originally called Child of Nature. Child of Nature was a song that after he wrote it, they went back home. When they were producing demos for the White Album at George Harrison's house, he recorded it himself as Child of Nature. And actually it is, it's a, you know, lyrics are good, but, you know, it's what his time frame was at that point. He later used the music for Jealous Guy, and actually Roxy Music, Brian Ferry did such a wonderful version of Jealous Guy. It's just fabulous. But this is one of the highlights of this album. It's beautiful. And again, he's writing this one, though, the lyrics to Yoko Ono. He's telling her, hey, I'm sorry for what I've done. I'm sorry for hurting you. And, you know, I'm just a jealous guy. I can't help it. You know, one of those other songs dealing with insecurities. It's So Hard is the next one. This one has a nice solo from King Curtis, saxophone. And it's not one of my favorite songs. I think it would have fit in well with the prior album, the Plastic Ono Band, the prior year. It's okay though. Actually, it was the first song that they attempted to record, and they even didn't even have the meters and the other equipment, you know, up and running when they recorded it. And it's talking about John Lennon's, you know, just you know, daily struggles, you know, that we all have in life. I Don't Want to Be a Soldier is the next song. This song is a little long, I'll be honest, very political, anti-war, anti-Vietnam. He's got, I'm going to read some lyrics here for you. It's very simplistic, kind of like the like Abbey Road's I Want You, She's So Heavy. Here we go. Well, I don't want to be a soldier, mama, I don't want to die. Well, I don't want to be a sailor, mama, I don't want to fly. Well, I don't want to be a failure, mama, I don't want to cry. Well, I don't want to be a soldier, mama, I don't want to die. And it just keeps going on and on like that. Badfinger are on this, they're playing guitar on here. And Badfinger also plays on Jealous Guy, by the way. You can hear him very well pronounced on this song, but on the Jealous Guy, when they actually came to mixing the album, they're much lower in the mix. So I think it would be something you'd have to probably listen to with headphones in order to hear really how they sounded on Jealous Guy. But I Don't Want to Be a Soldier, I remember listening to it, you know, when it first came out, when I was listening to it, my first time when I would buy these or get these as gifts, because I was just a boy, and I was like, this is a long song, it just keeps going on and on and on. Well, it turns out it's 6 minutes long, so that's why I thought it was so long. It's an okay song. I mean, It's So Hard and I Don't Want to Be a Soldier, I think they're kind of filler songs, to be honest with you, on a pretty much, other than that, perfect album. Alright, if you had the record or the cassette, now that would have been the A side. Now we're going on the B side. Give Me Some Truth is the next song. This is a song that had its start during the Beatle days. A lot of these songs on this album were kind of leftover. They originated during the Beatle days, and he held on to them and then finally put them on here. Give Me Some Truth was initially a poke at some of his fellow Beatles. I believe he wrote this late '68. He was definitely, they were doing some run-throughs during the Get Back sessions, you know, when they were doing some filming, and you know, you can hear some of those recordings. Unfinished. Later on, though, turning a little political, he was talking about politicians like Richard Nixon, Tricky Dick, he mentioned in here. A nice solo from lead guitar from George Harrison. Just really good. Next song is Oh My Love. This song was written at the beginning of John and Yoko's relationship, so about mid-'68. Beautiful love song. Yoko gets a writer's credit, co-writer credit on here. And George Harrison plays guitar on it also. I love it. I've always loved it. It's just a sincere, simple love song, and it says so much. If you get a chance, listen to the anthology the John Lennon anthology box set, there's an alternate take on there. How Do You Sleep is the next song. This song I love. It's one of my favorite. It is a poke at his fellow bandmate, Paul McCartney, ex-bandmate. And in these days, John Lennon and Paul McCartney in the press, they were saying bad things about each other. There'd be songs that were coming out, you know, that Paul McCartney wrote, like Too Many People. Take a look at that. He's, you know, taking a dig against his fellow bandmates, Too Many People, or Three Legs, stuff like that. So John decided to have some fun of his own. It sounds very much like kind of the beginning of Sgt. Pepper. You hear the orchestra, but in this case you hear the orchestra warming up, you know, the violins and everything. And then you hear somebody say, shh, shh, quiet please, shh, shh. And that's supposed to be Paul McCartney. So here are some of the lines from that. I thought they were interesting. I wanted to share them with you. This is, "So Sgt. Pepper took you by surprise. You better see right through that mother's eyes. Those freaks was right when they said you was dead. The one mistake you made was in your head." There was a rumor, you know, in the mid-60s that Paul McCartney had died, so that's the reference there. And then this is another line here I like. "The one thing you done was yesterday," meaning, you know, wrote the classic Beatles song. "The only thing you done was yesterday. And since you've gone, you're just another day." That was the latest. "Another Day" was the latest single from Paul McCartney and Wings. And then here's another one. "A pretty face may last a year or two, but pretty soon they'll see what you can do. The sound you make is music to my ears. You must have learned something in all those years. How do you sleep? Ah, how do you sleep at night?" I love it. I mean, I love it. You got the orchestra going. Again, you have George Harrison playing on there, playing some nice slide guitar. Just a lot of fun. The next song is called "How." And this song I like. It's almost like it would be modern John Lennon in 1971. You know, it's talking, lyrically it's talking about some you know, typical themes that he talks about himself and insecurities. But musically it just sounds like, you know, this might have been the direction he could have gone, you know, but at least he did with this song. And this is interesting because he's pondering life. He's talking about, you know, what am I supposed to do? How can I go forward when I don't know which way I'm facing? How can I go forward when I don't know which way to turn? You know, and then he's talking about, how can I go forward into something I'm not sure of? And he's talking about, how can I give love when I don't know what it is I'm giving? So, you know, maybe like a lot of us are like, you know, why are we here? You know, this is a question of the meaning of life. What am I supposed to do? You know, am I just supposed to live, breathe, and eat here? You know, what's the purpose? And I think some of that is what he's talking about. Last song is called "Oh Yoko." This song is a song that was, he originally wrote it, I believe, late '68, but definitely '69. "Oh Yoko," upbeat song. I know in 1970 he recorded a demo of it, and it was a little murkier, darker, and then he decided when he recorded this album to go back to the upbeat arrangement. I like it. It's a love song to Yoko Ono. Well, if I was to rate this album on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, I'd have to give it a 9. So I definitely want to thank you for watching my video. Please subscribe to Jim Royal if you haven't already done so. And there'll be other videos and fun things in the future. Thank you.